Okay, you know us, Team Aquarius, about us. I don't know. Do you want to talk about us, Lacey?
Us, Team Aquarius. I'm an Aquarius sun. You're welcome, world. I will fix you. Uh, Mary is an Aquarius moon. We're both 2 degrees, which makes us a conjunct pair. So besties right there, right? That's our stuff that Mary's pointing to. But we love to give perspective. This is the perspective. Yeah.
Yep,
So,
Lacey,
mhm,
Mary.
yeah. Mary's the
um,
funner. I'm the more serious.
I don't know if that's true.
Cool. Yes.
Our favorite quote
Astrology
ever.
is this, yeah, study of how space is beating your ass from that far away, right? And today's rundown, actually, I'm going to be telling a story, so we may just get to the signs and the rulers. That is
Right.
my actual thought today. Normally, though, we go over houses, overview of planets, signs by element, and check out some charts. Yeah, ask us questions if you have them. But yeah, today I'm kind of roguing it. I made little crafts
I
and
love
stuff.
it.
Yeah,
Okay, is this useful for the
this is
roguing?
massively useful. We're going to keep
Okay.
it on this page. So first, before we even start anything, if you can, I would like for you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine that you are in early days human existence, right? There is not people around. There is no noise around except for natural noises, wind, water, animals, right? Those are the things that you hear. Those are the only things that you hear. There are no books to read. There is nothing to do other than eat, sleep, and right? Make more babies, which is dangerous. But still, that's what you do, right? So there's nothing around. And you are staring up now at a night sky. And in this night sky, you see every detail of every star that's ever been starred, right? And none of them move. They all stay in the same place, except those ones. There's ones that do move. I have no idea what they are. You ask your tribal members, what is that? Nobody knows. But we know that they do it. We know that they move the same times every year. They have the same patterns every year. The other thing that we notice in the night sky is the moon. And I have drawn characters, but yeah. And it goes across the sky as well. And sometimes it's full and sometimes it's half. I don't know why, but it goes through seasons and it seems to affect tides. It definitely affects water. It definitely affects birthing processes. It definitely has an effect on people and on the observable world. We also have the main star in the sky here, the sun, right? Main big sun in the sky, and that brings warmth and it makes things grow, right? We observe it every day. Sometimes it seems to be a little bit farther, sometimes it's closer. We know when it's closer, things are hotter. When it's farther, things are colder. We know that everything that grows depends on these two mammo jammers, the moon and the sun, the main star in the sky, right? So we notice these all the time and we're observing their effects on us. So if you had nothing else to do in the whole wide world but notice how you react to things, different people in your tribe have different gifts, different talents, different things they're good at. And you start to notice that warriors tend to be born when that star right there, that twinkles a little bit red, is in the sky. It twinkles colors, right? And we notice that people who are really good with textiles and harmonizing, right? People who are good at cooking food tend to have the moon maybe in full, right? Or in the sun, or in this part of the sky, but you're observing these things, right? And you're starting to make associations. So stories start to get told of how these things that are in the observable sky seem to affect us, right? So we've already talked about the sun and the moon, main things. And now we're talking about planets, the wandering stars, right? According to ancient times. So now, if you have your eyes opened, you can have your eyes opened now. I already had mine open. I cheated, whatever. Now imagine that you are on a boat and you are in the middle of a vast sea, of an ocean. You have left the world that you knew, and now a bunch of you are on a boat and you are explorers, right? You have a couple people on this boat. You have Jupiter, who is played by my David Bowie character. So we have Jupiter. Hello, everyone. I am Jupiter, otherwise known as Sky Daddy. So we have Jupiter on this boat. Whoop. We also have Mars on this boat. And Mars has a little chainmail on him. I know chainmail is not a tribal thing exactly, but that's who Mars is. And Mars cares about open, direct, honest, making sure we get there safely, making sure we get there directly, right? I care about winning, Mars, right? And then we also have Venus on this boat. Hello, darlings. I love pearls and the color purple. And I want to make sure everyone is in harmony and enjoying themselves on this ship. We have Mercury. Mercury is everywhere. Mercury is a messenger. Mercury is trying to help us to figure out how to put things up. He's the person when Mars goes, raise the sails. Mercury's like, raise the sails, right? Like, make sure everyone knows that the sails need to be raised right now, right? Okay, so you're on this ship with all these characters. The first pair that we're going to run into is the ruler of Aries, first house, Mars. I want to be open, direct, honest. I want to get to our destination. I want to maybe be the first one there, right? First to discover on this ship. Now imagine this guy's going to come in really handy when that ship gets tossed and turned, right? Right? How are we going to stay secure? Mars is going to start yelling answers. He's going to be like, throw things overboard. We need to move lighter, faster, not tip over. And Venus comes in, the pair of Libra. She rules Libra. So we have the ruler of Aries and the ruler of Libra. And she says, surely not everything needs to be blown over. Not everything. Surely we can save the silks, darling. Surely the silks. And Mars is like, everything goes over. And she's like, oh. And she's like, well, I've got to make sure everyone, what if we asked other people what they thought, right? And Mars is like, if you can do it quickly. And she's like, let me go ask everyone. So she asks everyone, including Mercury. Mercury, what can we do about the silks, darling? I don't want to lose the silks. And Mercury says, well, can we use the silks as a mast on the ship to repair the masts? Little purple mast on our ship now. Can we repair the mast with it? And so Mercury's like, that'll work, right? We're going to repair the masts, right? So now we have, oh my gosh, I already lost my train of thought. But now on the ship, we have Mercury and, oh man, I already lost my train of thought. See, I thought about this like too close to home. But we have Mercury and we have Jupiter now, right? The owner of Gemini and the owner of Sagittarius. And they want to learn from the experiences that we've just had. We just had some tribulation. We just had the boat get roughed up. We just had Mars bark out some orders. Venus tried to help navigate the order, right? We saw that happen two ways. We saw Taurus, Venus rules Taurus and Mars rules Scorpio, right? So they are always balancing each other out, Mars and Venus. They are always in opposition And they are always trying to balance each other out. Mars wants to move ahead. Venus wants agreement with everyone. We need both of them in our charts. We have both of them in our charts. And then we have Mercury, who is always paired with Jupiter, right? So we have Gemini, the messenger, and we have Jupiter, the teacher, the spiritual leader, right? And they are always in pairs. So Gemini in Sagittarius, as well as Virgo and Pisces. They are always in pairs, and they are always opposite each other, right? One's the learner, one's the teacher. We also have Saturn, another character. Saturn's job is to make sure that everything is in order. This is Saturn's job. Saturn is stern. Saturn is not necessarily smiling. Saturn is a planet represented with death. So we do have some black eyes here, right? Mary's daughter drew these. Little Vera, right? I know. So it's so good, right? Okay, so now imagine that we've landed with our boat and our purple mast that Mercury helped Venus save, right? And now we've landed on the land that we intend to live on. And now we need to build some houses, right? Some buildings. Of course, these are more advanced buildings than maybe we would draw, right? But buildings nonetheless. And so we have shelter here, and then we've got water, a little watering hole with some food there. Okay, Mary's dying. So Saturn's job is to make sure that this gets built. This is Capricorn here. Saturn rules Capricorn. It rules structure. It rules maturity. It rules building, homes, walls, boundaries, right? It's Saturn's job to make sure that things get built for people to live in. The moon rules Cancer. It's opposite. Cancer needs to make sure that everyone is nurtured and fed and has food and has water. This is a watering well, a watering hole, and it wants to be the source of water for the community. The moon, the source of community, right? Waxes and wanes, its emotions, its inner world, its water, intuitively knowing where things are going to go, right? Water, source, life, right? So now that Saturn has made sure that we have those things, now the next one that comes along is Aquarius, also Saturn ruled. And Saturn's opposite is Leo. The sun rules the sun. I'll put these two together again. So we have Saturn, restriction, boundaries, making sure that we are using what the sun is growing, what the sun is using. The sun, Leo, is playful now. Now we're getting into entertainment. We're getting into who's the leaders, right? Leo is natural leaders. Leo is associated with rulers, kings, queens, emperors, right? It's also associated with being in front, being on stage, right? A leader needs to be seen, right? So we look to the Leo, the sun, for guidance. What are you growing, right? What are you shedding light on? What is your condition, right? So Leo matters. And then Leo also is a great hype person. Keep going, Leo. Keep going, Saturn. Good hype person. And then the last pair that we have again is Gemini, who is here. Gemini, our little Mercury, or not Gemini, sorry, Virgo, who is also Mercury ruled by our little guy here. And then Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter here. So now that we've established home, Capricorn, buildings, Capricorn, and a watering well and food, right? A source where we get those things. And now that we have established leadership, right? And social norms, right? That'd be Aquarius, fixing social norms, making sure everyone gets heard, not just the leaders, but also the underdogs, the rebels, right? Making sure that the most people will benefit from our new society. Now we move to what is our health, right? Virgo, the doctor, the health, the person who is concerned with physical, prescribable health, the person who is concerned that when somebody comes to them and says what they need, Virgo likes to try to serve them. Well, how can I help you as much as possible, right? So if somebody in the tribe gets hurt, who are they going to go to? They're going to go to the doctor, shaman. Those two were interchangeable in tribal days, right? Doctor, shaman, same person, because they were concerned with health. Are we happy? Are we hurting? Right? So Mercury here is, well, I'm going to tell you what to do to feel better. Jupiter, our musician here, he is going to ask you how your soul feels, right? He is going to help you to soothe your soul with music, with animals, with feeling connected, right? We're going to sing some songs around the campfire to feel connected, to feel happy, to feel healthy, right? Because we need more than just food, shelter, and clothing. We need happiness, contentment, to feel buoyed, a way to feel optimistic when things are rocky, right? And Jupiter is going to help us to find that. Lacey, let me help you find that. Watch Labyrinth with me, Lacey. My David Bowie impression there. But yeah, so that's sort of the characters that we're playing with here in our world. So Mars is always going to be paired with Venus, right? Aggression with soothing, war with love, right? It's not necessarily good or evil, right? We're just talking about balancing these two things, right? Balancing. Are we taking enough action? Too much action, right? Balance. So Aries, Scorpio, Libra, Taurus. That's who they rule. Those are their pairs. And then we have Mercury, and who's always again paired with Jupiter, right? The teacher, the listener, the student, the teacher, the voice of the teacher, right? So we have Gemini, Sagittarius, and we have Virgo, Pisces. And then we have Saturn, whose opposite is the moon, and whose opposite is, see, Cancer, Leo, whose opposite is the sun. Saturn's only opposites are Cancer and Capra. Well, yeah, Cancer and Leo. Those are Saturn's opposites. So Saturn rules stability, land. Where's my little land? My little houses here. So stability, land, homes, walls, boundaries. I care that you build. I care that you feel secure. I care that it gets done in a way that won't hurt or harm others, right? Up to par. right? And yeah. So that's my little story of the planets. What did you think, Mary?
I love it. I love your way of kind of illuminating um the pairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like the entire zodiac's built on this idea of balance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here you're talking about Mars opposite
Mm-hmm.
Venus, Aries, Libra, right?
Right.
Um, these pairs are, yeah, the foundation of astrology, really, or the archetypes,
Mm-hmm.
right? The idea that any of these archetypes meeting in the middle is kind of the idea of perfect balance,
Right. Right.
right? That they need the other.
Yes. And so this should be a great lesson to us all. Like, you are one with everyone. You are star stuff, right? You're made of the same stuff that these planets are made of, that stars are made of, right? Made of the same stuff. That's awesome. And we need each other, right? I know there are some people we know we can get along without, right? For sure. But still, there has to be balance. It can't be one or the other, right? That's what we need. Fire, the elements, right? Fire
Um,
elements. You want to talk about that, Mary?
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's confusing to jump from pairs straight into elements, right? But I think one is a broad view, and then this would be a little bit more zoomed in,
Yes.
right? So it'd be kind of like if we were looking at, instead of the ruler, who is what planet rules that sign,
Mm-hmm.
if we're looking at it and grouping them by element,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, adjusting the camera. Here we go. Sorry. Okay, much better. Um, okay. So if we're looking at fire specifically, one, it pairs well with air,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if we're looking at balance for elements, it
Right.
would be water and earth, right? They make
Right.
mud, they're very stabilizing.
Oh yeah. Water
And
and
then
earth.
you have air and fire, right?
Yes.
Which is inspiration being fed fuel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So uh they support each other kind of in pairs also in that
Mm-hmm.
way. But yeah, so if we're going by fire, we'd start Aries, Leo, Sag. Um what fire has in common, right, is kind of what you see when you look at a flame. There's an impulsiveness,
Mm-hmm.
right? Fire tends to make us think about passion or literally what lights us up. That's something that all of these signs have in common,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Totally.
Aries is young fire, so it is um initiatory, right? It is fight first, think later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a warrior, you know. Next up we have Leo. Leo's more kid-like. Aries might be
Yeah.
young fire, but Leo's a little bit more kid-like, a little bit more um
Oh.
fun. And yeah, if you meet a Leo and you feel kind of magnetically drawn to their energy, it really is because Leo is ruled by the sun, and we do gravitate towards sun, right? We It's life giving. And that's where Leos have to kind of protect themselves too, right? People will want to take that those rays of energy kind of endlessly, you know.
Yeah.
And then we have Sagittarius, also fun, but a little bit more philosophical now. Okay. And so you'll find that as the signs get later in the wheel, the higher up we get, the more the more they care about uh I'm just staring at Bowie. Uh
Yeah.
and I'm wishing I had like a glass ball to like balance while But
I
yeah,
know, right?
Sagittarius. So those later signs that we see, right? Cap, Aquarius, Pisces, Sag. Um, More concerned with the collective is what I was trying to say.
Right.
So they these later signs feel a little bit different than the earlier signs, right?
Mhm.
Because of the way they sit in the wheel. But that's a little bit more in depth and probably not needing to go that far in today. Next, we have Earth. So this is our Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. What these have in common is Earth signs are very grounded, right? Very reliable, very they tend to be just sturdy, practical, pragmatic people,
Mhm.
right? Um these are also all somewhat goal driven because tangibility matters to Earth, right? Building, seeing productivity,
Mhm.
being of use, right? Those things are important to Earth. Um, Almost to their detriment. Each one could almost say that they have some amount of maybe going too far for other people sometimes, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Taurus, right? The bull. It's also Venus ruled, so it is goddess energy. Yeah. Taurus is slow and steady,
Mhm.
right? It's five senses, it's resources. It's in its light side, right? Not its shadow, but in its light side,
Mhm.
it's minimalistic and
Mhm.
um open-minded, right?
Mhm.
But any Taurus you meet, stubborn or not, dark Taurus or not, is usually very reliable, very stable, very their word matters, right? And you can say that with any of these earth signs, really. Uh Virgo, this is more to do with health. We meet a lot of kind of nurse types, doctor types. Um, yeah, because Virgo's so smart, right? They can remember
Yeah.
a lot of things, and this comes in handy when you're prescribing, right? When you are wanting to help people, when you want to heal people,
Mhm.
having a really great memory, Mercury, having the ability to learn and communicate large amounts of information. You would need Mercury. He's fast, right? He's a messenger.
Mhm.
And then we have Capricorn, right? And Capricorn is the goat, greatest of all time. There is a kind of a literal nature here, right? The
Mhm.
Capricorns like to climb, whether that be careers or literal mountains.
Mhm.
They are built to climb and therefore enjoy the climb, right? These aren't people, these are very entrepreneurial spirited people or energy, right? This business oriented. And it's also I climb because I like to climb, right? Not
Mhm.
because anybody's making me, or it's a pushing of yourself, and it's an enjoyment, and it's probably a kind of never retire vibe, right? If you love what you're doing, don't really want to retire, and that's it's a cap thing. Also making money is a cap thing,
Mhm.
like
Yeah, achieving goals, certificates, right?
definitely.
Mhm.
Uh, and then if we're looking at air signs, right?
Mhm.
Um, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Aquarius gets confused for a water sign.
Mhm.
It's a water bearer, right? Meaning it can hold emotions. It can maybe create space to hear them,
Mhm.
right? There's a logic to Aquarius where it's like it can take in the big picture, and that does include emotions, right?
Mhm.
And so you'll see depictions of Aquarius being somebody holding water, and that could
Mhm.
be um, misleading because it's not a water sign, it's an air sign.
Yeah. It used to be that that water was um taking the information, the perspective from the gods, and then pouring out that intuitively onto that knowledge
Right?
onto the community, right?
That would be very Aquarius humanitarian, you know.
Right. Right.
All three of these would be mental energy, right?
Mhm.
Excels at maybe like problem solving,
Mhm.
um, communication, reading,
Mhm.
writing, those types of
Yeah. Getting people to agree on things, right? That would be like Libra. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And then give it to the Aquarius. This is all the information I've gathered. This is how everyone thinks. This is how everyone feels about these social issues. This is how I think harmony can happen. And then Aquarius is like, sweet, make it. Right, Aquarius.
Yeah, and then Gemini is just it's youthful air, right? It is curious. This is this unapologetic curiosity is where Gemini needs to live, right?
Yes.
It's opposite Sagittarius is more about taking that information and um philosophizing and teaching, right? But Gemini, you know, its job is to be curious, right? Stay within that curiosity. Um, and go at the speed that feels normal, right? A lot of people, a lot of Geminis will slow down
Mm-hmm.
because not everybody reads that fast or moves that fast or thinks that fast. But it's kind of a no, you should be fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do the fast
Yeah.
thing, do the curious, just don't feel like you have to finish the book, right? Open
Yeah.
the book, be interested, and then move on. Whatever speed works for a Gemini. Basically, the message would be don't slow down for the rest of us,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Libra, like Lacey said, is balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Beauty, harmony.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Libra, you know, law, lawyer is kind of a thing, right? Justice,
Mm-hmm.
social justice will
Yeah.
not stand, right? So, like the way that a Libra thinks and feels, right, is it is a very natural fit for them to be in positions advocacy or um, equality. That is
Yeah. Mediator.
Libra's passion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
good at communicating, right? Still very mental energy. So you can see a lot of lawyers pursuing law, or a lot of Libras being lawyers, right? Pursuing law because it's a very natural flow for them to want to help people or want to right wrongs. And
Yeah. Help people put their best foot forward too. Libra, Venus ruled. She's in charge of attraction. And so a lot of musicians have Libra placements. No doubt Gwen Stefani's a Libra. Libra rising, I think Beyonce's a Libra rising, right? Um, Another Libra would be Snoop Dogg, right? When you think of so artists will be Libra, beauty people, right? People who are making a person or helping a person to feel their most attractive. So hairstylists, makeup, beauty, makeup, right? Makeup people. They're trying to help you figure out how to put best foot forward, how to sound the best. Still lawyering, right? Yeah.
right, how to positively spin that.
Yes. Yes.
And then Aquarius, like we already kind of said, this is rebellious, humanitarian kind of energy later in the wheel. So cares a little bit more about the system, the community, how
Mm-hmm.
well, what's the rising ship or all tides rise,
Yeah.
it's whatever that quote is like if everybody does better, I
Mm-hmm.
do better too. It's
Yes.
really not just about me. It's about how do I get
Yeah.
everybody to rise. This would be a Aquarius ponder
Right.
pondering type.
It's kind of like Mercury gathers all the information, tells Venus all the information, right? Hey, did you know this? Did you know this? Did this? And then she's like, oh, okay, so that's what everyone thinks, huh? And then she tells Saturn, hey, this is what everybody thinks. And then Saturn is like, well, good. Then we'll go with what the most people think so we can all rise, right? But Saturn also has that eye on the underdog too. So also knows not just the pretty, not just the smart, but everyone is needed.
Exactly. And then last element, water. Um,
Well,
boom.
well,
Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, right? And Pisces being the very last in the wheel. Cancer, right? This is moon ruled, like we've talked about, but it's also mother.
Mm-hmm.
Um, mother can mean a lot of different types of things. What we
Yes.
mean here is divine femininity and
Mm-hmm.
nurturing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is kind of, it would also, Cancer being such a
Mm-hmm.
homey sign also
Right.
has a lot to do with family and ancestry, family lineage, right?
Right.
What gets passed down. I would say all water is pretty magical,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Intuitive. Yeah.
We are made of mostly water, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Water is key for survival, and something about water signs are water and magic embodied, right? So it's like um these what these have in common, they would all be intuitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can feel what we see with big placements in water is empathy, right? Picking up, being an empath, picking up what you're feeling like a sponge to your detriment sometimes, right? And that's water's job really, is just to
Connect.
expand and
Mm-hmm.
spill and, be almost this raw nerve that we, it needs support, it needs a container, right? What water is, though, is kind of a mess, right? And so, but it's magic. So, cancer magic is what kind of magic we inherited from our mother, from our family, from our lineage, right? Scorpio is transformation magic, right? How do we alchemize, right? And go from one to the other, right?
Yeah. What do
That's
we need to deeply look at, be vulnerable about? Mm-hmm.
what stings when we talk about it, right?
It's a
Where do we feel
cringe.
vulnerable?
Yeah.
What makes us feel like we are walking outside naked, right? That's Scorpio a little bit, right?
Yes.
The scorpion, you think about how armored that creature is, right? How uninterested it is in maybe making friends, right? Um, and that has to do with safety, right? So does Cancer. Cancer wants to know that it's secure. Pisces, um, Lacey will often say, right, it is only protected by scales. And so this will swim away. Pisces will ghost. It'll take its happy mermaid ass upstream
Yeah.
anytime it feels like it's going to hurt somebody's feelings
Mm-hmm.
or their feelings get hurt,
Right.
right? It's peace out.
Mm-hmm.
And um, safety and vulnerability, right? That's something you see with all of these signs because water has an inherent vulnerability in astrology,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is our feelings, the deeper emotional pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And when you can pit, you're a sponge, right? Water absorbing sponge. When you're a sponge and you intuitively can tell when people are happy, mad, sad, angry, right? You can feel these things, right? It affects you. Um, then,
how to honor that.
right, right.
You can't push emotions away. You can't pretend they're not there.
Yeah, Cancer can be like, you can't come to my home. I don't want to let that energy in my home, right? Scorpio is like, let's get to the bottom of that, right? Where did
But
that
why?
originate? Yeah,
Let's go deeper.
yeah, right. And then Pisces can soothe, but not all people want to be soothed. So Pisces has to swim away if it's not able to, you know, soothe or fulfill, or it's being taken advantage of. You're going to eat me, says the fish. You know what I mean? You're going to take advantage of me, says the mermaid, right? You want to trap me, right? Pisces does not do trapped, you know?
Pisces, in my thought, is always kind of a unique case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like one foot in our world, one foot in the next,
Yes.
right? And you could say that the magic that comes with the water is going to have some sort of potentially psychic impact, some sort of connection, other side, possibly, right? We see that with Scorpio a lot, but Pisces, it's like, you know, one foot in the real world or reality here and the other foot in dreamland or the ether, right? um
Film,
the kinds
imagination. Yeah.
the kinds of places your brain can probably go only on LSD or something, right? Like that would be Pisces is hard to explain because while it is water and it is magic, um there is a almost intentional thoughtlessness
Mm-hmm.
that can get misconstrued, right, in our society is like you would you would maybe say like, oh, these naive hippies or this,
Right.
dumb blondes or,
Right.
whatever you would maybe say about certain stereotypes. When I see Pisces, to me, it kind of fits because their mind isn't always in our world. And that's
Right.
not a bad thing, right? We kind of make that out to be like it could be a
Mm-hmm.
bad thing with certain stereotypes, but really what it is um, an element of disconnect, disassociation, otherworldliness, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it has something to do with being at the end of the cycle, right? The end of our astrology wheel. This is the last stop. So there's an element of death with Pisces. We see prominent Pisces will work in hospice sometimes, right? Because there's an ability to transition people, right? Maybe more smoothly than others because there's actually kind of all water has that, right? Where it's
Yeah.
a little bit easier to let go, maybe of our physical bodies or something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I think of Scorpio, Scorpio tends to have a harder time letting go, right? Because it's fixed water. It's the water that's right here. How deep does it go? You know? Um,
Mariana Trench.
yeah. Um, and when I think of Pisces, it's a mood changer, right? Like, let's use music to help change our minds. You
I
know?
think that's what they're touching on, right?
Yeah.
Music and pets and things that take you to a
Yeah.
different place or a connected place, right?
Let's change that mood, right? Or my mood changes. Water people change mood,
Oh
right?
yeah, there's a moodiness associated with water, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's waves. And things come in waves. You got to be able
Yeah.
to ride waves. Um, as far as we have like 10 minutes left, we have stuff here, right? So teamaquarius.com. So we have all of
Mm-hmm.
our good stuff. I put John Legend and Chrissy Teigen's astrology at the end here for us to have charts to look at.
Oh,
I didn't overlap them because I didn't know if we'd have enough time. And I think I'm right because 10 minutes is not enough to touch
yeah.
on synastry, really. But these came from our public charts in Luna,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they
Right.
have birth times.
Mm-hmm.
So John Legend.
So again, I live under bridges and I don't actually know these people.
Are
Like
you serious?
I don't know. I have no idea, but it's okay.
I
I know
love
John
I
Legend
love
is a
when I
singer, right? He's a singer, right?
yeah, he's a singer.
All right, Cap Sun. And with Mars there, Mars. So that this means that he loves to actively grind on his work, achieving too. He's got goals or some kind of goal oriented with his, achievements, strategy and planning, right? So we talked about that Saturn. Sag Moon, how many sex toys do you have, John Legend? My first thought when I see that. Also, his relationship to his mom would be interesting. I mean, just reading it, but so Moon, inner world emotions, is in a Pisces house, right? So there's a glamour. There's a musician, right? There's a music. I know he's like a musician in that way, right? And then
He is, and he has an
Neptune,
EGOT.
an EGOT.
Yeah. That's when you have Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and a Tony. So anyway, you
Oh,
were talking about achievement.
oh yeah. So that's like everything, right?
He's got a lot of awards. Yeah.
Boy, he spends a lot of his time in imagination world, though. I mean, he's the Saturn ruled Mars sun, right? Is in reality. There is a reality to be had, but Neptune and Moon, he dips in and out of imagination easily. I bet he zones out while he's talking to people, you know?
Yeah. You definitely get the sense that he's a dreamer, like
Right.
a visionary in that way, or sees things in his own way or something. But
Yeah.
you see that 12th house we're just talking about, right? As
Mm-hmm.
active. What's
Yes.
interesting is the active between 12th house unconscious and first house consciousness is so packed.
Right. One's in reality, one's in teaching. So he will definitely
Right.
have like maybe message oriented things. Um, Probably has poetic way of speaking or describing things, right? So like super philosophical,
I
probably
think his
very
music
spiritual.
is very emotional too, right? So like expressive of so his inner world, right? And then Mercury's there, but
Yeah.
then Sag, right? So he's still like a funny down to earth person. You get
Yeah.
that Sag moon vibe. You also
Mm-hmm.
can definitely feel that Pisces layer there.
This is adventure and traveling too. So I bet he very much enjoys traveling cross culturally or being in other cultures.
Yeah, I think okay, so Chrissy Teigen, his wife,
Mm-hmm.
she's also like a model, I think, or was. I don't did you ever watch lip sync battles? Did you ever watch this? Okay, she hosted that. I'm trying
Yeah.
to she's got her hands on a bunch of different things and she's hilarious, right? For a while she was like the queen of Twitter. Her and
Mm,
Donald Trump would get into it a lot when he was president. She would call him out for how idiotic his tweets really were, and
interesting. Yeah. Well, Sag
yeah.
Sun, let me teach you something. She also
Um
would love to travel too, right?
I
The
believe they do a
sun.
fair amount of traveling and I want to say she is from I don't know. I wanted to say Thailand, but I could be wrong.
She
But
definitely
like,
feels that when she learns something, she has to teach it. Oh my God, I learned this thing. I have to share it, right? Uh,
yeah, and
yeah.
a big part of her whole thing is cooking. So I'm
Cancer.
looking at that ninth house, Cancer, Moon,
Mm-hmm.
teaching,
Yes.
cooking, right? Which she learned from her mom because her mom's like in a bunch of her cooking videos is really cute actually.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you can see that teaching that, right? A lot of that. She has a cookbook and all that kind of.
Hmm. Oh, book publishing. Ninth house is also book
Yeah,
publishing.
yeah,
She might publish other books on how to mom or something to do with momming, maybe.
yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
She actually they talked a lot about loss, right? I think
She had a lot of Scorpio. They both have a Scorpio Venus. That is loss.
they lost a baby, and I don't remember if it was like right after he was born or if it was more before he was born, but it was like maybe a miscarriage or something, right? And it
Mm.
was devastating. She posted pictures and she talked about it, and I thought how vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Because
Super vulnerable because she has a lot of Scorpio. She must have had some kind of roughness in her childhood though.
I wonder,
Like
I
that's a
don't know.
lot of Scorpio.
Yes.
Pluto, South Node, Eros, Juno. She definitely felt like betrayed naturally, sort of in some way growing up.
Love,
Uh,
I'd love to
so yeah, that's a lot of Scorpio energy in that first house. Like that's you don't get that much Scorpio because life was easy growing up, you know?
right, right. Well, and what stood out to me when they were sharing their loss, right? Like how devastating it was. Um, she had pictures taken, I think, right? And that was part of her way of being able to remember
Mm-hmm.
him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she got ripped apart by some of these people in the comments. Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you doing this for attention? Why would you have a photographer there or something like that? And,
Huh.
right. And I what I always appreciated about Chrissy Teigen is that uh she seems to have thick skin when it comes to trolls,
Yeah.
right? Doesn't seem to actually, and I'm sure that's can only go so far too. I mean, we're all affected by like negative words. It doesn't give anybody the right to troll people or whatever. But um she seems to handle it
Yeah, she got
better
a
than
stinger up
most.
in there. She got a stinger on her, right? That Scorpio does have a stinger when it does come out, you know?
And then that second house, Sag Resources, is using comedy,
Yeah, let me teach
right?
you. Yeah, disarm with comedy.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
I think, she just came out stronger and was like, look, I grieved my own way and I did it how I wanted to do it and you guys can fuck off.
Yeah.
Is kind of the impression I got. And I just like the way that, some people get really whiny about fame and trolls,
Mhm.
and some people really act like, yeah, this comes with the territory. And
Yeah.
she's always giving me that impression of like, yeah, people suck, but I'm gonna keep doing
Yeah.
me, you know.
Well, she's got an armored emotions in her world, right? Cancer moon, right? And then she has an armored, extremely armored first house with
Oh
Venus
yeah.
there, right?
But then
And
a
then
Sag
comedy.
Sun and Saturn
Hmm.
in the second house
Hmm.
of
uh,
resources.
with third house communication, Capricorn, the Neptune and Capricorn, so like dreamy, glamorous, right? Comes across that way on social media, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
A mermaid, right? There's that sort of piece there. Oh, and then he has a Neptune moon, so he would come across as mermaidish, otherworldly, right? As well.
Oh, I love that she has a North Node in Taurus, right? That's such a foodie.
Gourmet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, yeah, I see that. And then this Libra Mars can cut like you or sever, right?
Right.
Um, I wonder if that works in her favor in terms of
Yeah.
trolls and stuff like that.
Right. Well, her Venus. So Mars is in Venus's house, Libra, and Venus is in Mars' house, Scorpio, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there is a little bit of understanding there between the two of them, but Mars and Libra, one is very indecisive, and, uh, two feels motivated by end of life or like spiritual things, right?
I can see that.
Feels motivated by seeing the beauty in the dark, right? In the macabre, in the shadow, right? Of Scorpio. And then they have a classic sun moon conjunction, which means they get along well, right? So that's good. They have best friend
Yeah.
energy with each other.
Yeah, you could definitely feel that. That's what I think makes them so comedic to watch.
Mm.
Right? 'Cause like I think he does the voice, right? And so or maybe he did. I'm not sure if he's still doing it. But their family in general seems to get a lot of exposure. And I think the reason they're so magnetic to watch is
Mm.
that best friend dynamic that you like
Energy.
feel. Yeah.
I always feel like, has he ever had affairs? That if he had, so he got that Sagittarius all up in that Pisces 12th house, right? That gives charm boy enemy energy to me, right? That gives less than one woman attraction. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's like what I think of.
He inherently gives opposite vibes, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's this Capricorn. I
Yeah.
think you really feel the ethics of that Capricorn, right? The right and wrong.
Yeah. And then that Saturn and Virgo, so purest form, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really gives off like loyalty vibes, right? And I think that they've been together for a really long time.
Yeah.
Um,
I wonder if he's ever been interested in like teaching health or um doing things that are that have to do with higher education, right? Something about purity in higher education, right? Or thinking of that Saturn and Virgo, like thinking of that.
Yeah, with that North node there.
Yeah, that's like meant to be in politics.
Meant to be serving.
Yes, right.
Um,
In law and religion, right? Like is sort of meant to be his own minister, pastor. Like I think of like a sort of a spiritual ruler.
oh yeah, I think you could almost say that about him. I'll send it's funny because you go into these blind, but I'll send you some stuff after we get off here and you'll be like, oh, yep, that's exactly what I said,
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I know their faces, but I don't know like them.
Okay.
Because
Well,
if
we
they're not
are
in an ancient documentary, I don't know who they are.
if she's not Cleopatra, she has not
Genghis
crossed
Khan,
my
let's talk, right? Are they modern? I have no idea who they are.
right. But
Yeah.
I'll send you some stuff and I think it'll be fun to hear your reaction. But
I know. I'm so yeah. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks for
we're
keeping me apprised of the now.